State lawmakers overrode their second governor's veto of the legislative session this past week. It was a bill to restrict abortions at about the 12-week mark, known as the fetal heartbeat bill. The forthcoming new law is certain to receive a legal challenge. Here to talk politics on this subject and much more is Democratic Representative ClemmerMurdock, Vice Chair of the House Public Health Committee, and Republican Representative Ann Clemmer, Vice Chair of the House Education Committee and a co-sponsor of the heartbeat bill. Thank you both for being with us. Appreciate you being on set.
Thank you for having me.
Great, thanks.
All right. Let's begin with, I kind of want to go into some psychology of what goes into a veto override to begin with before we kind of dive into some of the subject matter of the week. Do you count noses? Do you know what the vote's going to be before it goes? How does this roll around? What's going on behind the scenes?
Well, let me say I can answer that pretty easily. We felt like we had our caucus 100% in favor of this. So for us, it was like, is everybody going to be here? Is anybody going to be sick? Is anybody not going to be here? So we had to certainly count the 51 members that we have. And, of course, we were hoping for a few D's to come over.
Right, because
and we did.
It passed by a large majority when it came through the first time, but the override, you saw quite a few votes peel off. Why was that, Representative Murdock?
Well, I think that politics was in order. I mean, I think that after the first vote, I think the governor, who obviously vetoed it, he was working the numbers as well, just like they were on their side. He was working them on his side, and he got with some of the legislators that had voted in favor and, asked them to support him on his veto.
Was this a great victory for Republicans in terms of national image? Was this a big setback for Arkansas in terms of national image? What's your viewpoints on this?
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, if you go by the reports that you get, and I think depends on where you're at on this, you're getting reports that says that it's embarrassing, that it's kind of shameful what happened. And if you look at the New York Post, I think it's the New York Times maybe, they put out a piece that talked about that what happened in Arkansas was shameful, that we're going to be in litigation and that it's going to be overturned, and that that we're wasting taxpayer dollars. That's their view on it, as well as many others that think that we probably went down a road that's was not very legally correct anyway.
And I'd suggest you probably have a different viewpoint.
Very much so. I mean, we felt like it was a great victory. I mean, I think this issue more than any other shows the real cultural divide in this country between a lot of the southern states and maybe the rest of the country. But this is something, I mean, it's completely different response you get. But I mean, when I'm in Saline County, I mean, it's people are hugging me, coming up to me, crying, thanking me for running this bill. It is different, but we are not like the rest of the world, and I think this bill makes a statement. The poll that Talk Business did said we had 60% of Arkansans behind this bill. Right,
33% opposed to it. Those numbers were very striking. I think that might speak more largely to just where you stand in the pro-life, pro-choice debate. Maybe not. I think if we polled a question.
But you did poll the 12-week.
We did poll the 12-week question, but I think we would have gotten a similar response on just about anyone, just my gut instinct on
probably.
that. So, well, let's talk about the legal ramifications here. Obviously, the ACLU has already said that they're considering a legal challenge to this. Other groups have made waves as well. What's the legal argument, Representative Clemmer, for defending this bill as being either constitutional or obeying previous legal precedent?
Well, I think the argument is that Arkansas law, and I haven't heard very much about this, but that we declared that a person in utero existed at 12 weeks in utero. 1999 Arkansas statute in the Unborn Victims Act. And we are saying we have declared this 12-week-old fetus a person, this baby as a person, and should be protected.
What do you think about the legal challenge?
Well, and I think that's the very question, and that's the question is at hand. And certainly, I'm not an attorney, but what we're told is the constitutionality, the legal part of it, is that it violates that. That these particular laws, this one and the other one that was passed, will violate the Constitution, and it's an unconstitutional act that's been passed by our legislature. And it's not that Democrats or other people are not pro-life. I mean, I don't think because you believe in choice that you're not pro-life. I think that's a myth. I've got a lot of emails talking about if you don't vote for this, then you don't love God, you're not a Christian, you're not a good person. That's not the case. I don't, take it that way. I think part of our duty, if I was not a legislator, possibly if I thought that, if I felt a certain way, if I was not a legislator, that I have to protect the state fiscally and otherwise, then on an issue such as this, such as a social issue, then you can make a different choice. But I think as a legislator, we had a different choice that we had to make, and because of the law and what we were told about the law and the possible unconstitutionality of this, that we needed to be very careful in making a decision. And I think we're stewards in our current position. We're stewards as well.
The other bill that you referenced that became law too with the governor's veto override was the 20-week bill, the pain-capable abortion bill. Just this past week, about 2 days ago, the federal judge in Ohio struck down that state's law.
Wasn't that Idaho?
It was in Idaho, yes. But he is a federal judge, and he struck down that law saying that it didn't meet the viability standard that has previously been set. Do you see this being the legal path to challenge?
Well, I mean, we've had other cases. We have another case in Arizona that's been upheld at the 20-week mark. So now we have a conflicting federal ruling, which I think means that somebody's got to settle which federal circuit court was correct. The one ruling on the case in Arizona, or the law in Arizona, and the one ruling on the law in Idaho.
But is it not part of the strategy? I mean, I would argue that it's fine for this to work its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Let's revisit Roe v. Wade 40 years later. Is that part of the
It may be, and I mean, I would argue that we're basing. Roe v. Wade was written in 1973, before there was an active use of ultrasounds. I mean, before we had advertised pregnancy pregnancy tests at home that you could tell in 48 hours whether or not you're pregnant or not. I think at some point we're going to say there's a responsibility issue here too. I mean, you can have choice, but there's also responsibility.
All right, we got to let the debate end right there on this subject. We've got to take a commercial break. We're going to come back and talk about some of the health care, Medicaid, private option debate that's going on at the Capitol. Representative Murdock, Representative Clemmer will be back with us after this word from our sponsors. I'm Roby Brock. Our Talk Politics panel includes Democratic Representative Reginald Murdock and Republican Representative Ann Clemmer. We turn our attention now to the Medicaid debate going on at the legislative session, which actually is more than just a Medicaid debate now. It's a private option, health insurance exchange, Medicaid, pro and con debate. Are you guys satisfied with the direction that the debate has taken with the ruling from the feds or the information from the feds that we now have flexibility with this Medicaid program and the Medicaid money now?
Well, I'm encouraged, but Reginald serves on the Public Health Committee, but I'm very encouraged with what I hear coming out.
Yes, I think that's true, that we now have an option. I think it's a viable option that's going to lead us down a path, hopefully, to have some sustainability and some good options, that we can put some good legislation in place to secure good health outcomes for the citizens of Arkansas. And
so what's going on in the Republican caucus right now, Ann? I mean, is it we want to control more of what's going on in terms of the direction of this debate? Do you think that the questions that are being answered, do you think you're getting the answers that you need?
I think we're getting there. I don't think I think it's taken a while for us to get all the information we want, and I think it's taken, the governor's been gathering information as well over the past couple of years. We know that we have problems with, we've had problems with Medicaid fraud. We've had problems with people not being income verified to be on the program. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence. I think we've got an assurance that we're going to means test, and we're going to make sure there's income eligibility. We're going to verify the income eligibility, because we are extending a major federal program, whether it's subsidized private, but the idea that it is still subsidized. We're going to be involving ourselves a lot more deeply in healthcare.
Two schools of thought here. There's a lot of talk about why the rush on this, why the rush to make a decision in this regular legislative session on this new flexibility we've been given. Some would also argue that because there was delay in the last legislative session, we now have a state-federal health insurance exchange that could cost us more money with a premium tax. And so is there a rush to get this done in this regular session? Do you think it will get done?
Well, I'm optimistic that it will get done, but here's the timelines. The timelines are set by the federal government. The reality is we're in a partnership. that's where we're in now. We're in a partnership, and November starts enrollment. January 2014, the game starts. So invariably, we have to make decisions now. We have to get something done. Governor Beebe went to Washington. He brought back an option, gives us a 3-year, basically, ride, if you will, to take a look at this thing, and get to know, work on the rules that Representative Clemmer talked about. Make sure that in 3 years that everything, we can find the kinks in the program, make it better. But we got that now through that option that he was able to secure. And it's setting a model in the whole country now. Everybody's talking about this option that we have that he was able to secure, but to muddle it up now before those time frames, before this session is over, and say, let's go past this session, let's wait on this report, let's wait on that study, that obviously these things takes a lot of time. And that's going to invariably put us in violation of where we are in terms of the Federal Partnership Act, the partnership, and we don't want that.
And we'd be a lot further down the road had we known 2 years ago what we know now. I mean, this has really been at the federal level. I mean, I think there's been a desire to know more and get more and more information, but it's just been an elusive target. And in fact, the trip last weekend, or the weekend before, right, whichever, that where Governor Beebe went and spoke with Catherine Sebelius, I mean, that was when we finally got some different information. And, it's given us a new ball to play with.
And understand, a lot of those things that they're talking about in terms of the fraud, in terms of making sure that those things are properly looked at and assessed, that's been going on. I mean, John Siegley, DHS, Andy Allison, all the people that's contributing to this big pie that we're putting together, we're trying to do that. Arkansas, we're trying to be fiscal. The governor's office is trying to be fiscally smart, make good decisions, have good oversight. We always can get better. There's fraud out there. Those are those things.
And you're never going to be at 0%.
You're never going
to get all the way there. Yeah. So, what the biggest hang-up that you are still waiting on? You still don't have numbers. You don't know what you're talking about in terms of how it may plug into the budget at this point in time. I know that there's some number crunching going on. How close do you think you are to getting those answers?
Well, that should be hopefully by the end of next week that we'll have some things in that will really give us some information that they're looking for, and we all are looking for to some degree, but we're ready to move forward, to be honest with you. I think the majority is ready to move forward. We got to have 75 to get this done. Hopefully next week when some numbers come in, that will make those that have questions a little more secure and feel a little better about the process, and at least we can go forward. But one caution I do want to put out is that I hope that we're all in the vein of understanding that there are some things that's not going to happen before we term this session, before this session is over, and if we're trying to get out of here, in a reasonable amount of time, that's the concern that I have on us getting it done. I'm optimistic, but I'm concerned.
30 seconds, you get the last word.
Just to say, I'm still concerned that we don't really know how many people might be signing up. We can know the cost of a program, but if we extend it to everyone in an income category, I'm a little bit afraid that we're lowballing the number of people that really will want to take advantage of this.
It's going to come out of your personal checkbook. How about that?
No, I don't have it.
Representative Ann Clemmer, Representative Reginald Murdock, thank y'all both for being here. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you.